So, and Eirini, are you with us as well?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, super. So let us start our first webinar on women entrepreneurship. Let me firstly introduce our panelists. So we have with us Luis Gutierrez Roy. He's founder and managing general partner at Telegraph Hill Capital. Luis has also completed and managed over 60 startup investments. His early stage VC firm is based in Barcelona and is covering a variety of sectors such as mobility, PropTech, digital health, e-commerce. Welcome, Luis.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too. We also have with us Kinga Stanislawska. So she's the founder of European Women in VC, board member of IEC, and advisor to NCP CAP. And it's a pleasure actually to meet you also, Kinga, because it's the first time that we meet. Kinga is, as we said, she's a founder of leading CVC. She's a founder of the European Women in VC platform. And she is also named one of the top 50 of Europe's most influential women in the startup and venture capital space by EU Startups and top 50 women in tech in Europe by Forbes. Welcome, King, as well. We also have
Thank you.
Thank you too. We also have with us Eirini Pavlaki. Eirini Pavlaki is a co-founder and director of Women Do Business, and she has been also recognized and awarded as one of the top 100 women in social enterprise in 2022. So welcome, Eirini.
Thank you. Welcome.
And we have also Eirini Veniamis, who is the Vice President of the International Chamber of Commerce Women Hellas, and a member of the Chamber since 2020, and an entrepreneur herself. Welcome, Eirini, as well. And we also have with us our colleague, Stelios Uyujoglou. He is the Chief Investment Officer of the Hellenic Development Bank. And with that, I think we can start. So with our webinar today, our aim was to cover the whole map of women entrepreneurship. This is why we implemented the global to local with our panelists. This is what we wanted to do, to have the global view and the global perception of women entrepreneurship, and also getting to the local part, to Greece, and also to even to Crete, because Eirini is calling us from Crete. So and also apart from the global and local, also to cover the investor side and the entrepreneur side. As we said, this is the first time that we do a webinar about women entrepreneurship, which personally think it's a very important topic, and a topic that really needs a particular focus and attention. This is why I would start just for a few minutes with Stelios, who is, as said, he's representing the Hellenic Development Bank, to say a bit about the financial products that we have in the bank. And we will do that because I think today we have a different audience from the other times. Women entrepreneurs, and not only. And I think it would be important that Stelios gives us an overview of how they can benefit from our financial tools just for 5 minutes. And then we will start the discussion. Thank you, Stelios. I think you're muted. We cannot hear you.
Okay, I repeat. So it's my pleasure to attend this event, and thank you for the time, Maria. So very briefly to say that Hellenic Development Bank is effectively Greece's first and only development bank. It has been relaunched in the last 3 years. Effectively, we are a startup ourselves, with about 120 people that have colleagues that have come from the private sector. So we have organized ourselves according to the best practices of the International Community for Development Banks. We are in the process of launching new products every couple of months. Just to give you a brief overview, we seek to be the point of reference for Greek entrepreneurship, to fill the financing gap for all these companies that find it difficult to get bank financing for various reasons, and maybe because of market failures, maybe because of the innovation aspect, or lack of, let's say, collateral acceptance from banks. For example, in Greece, going concerns are not really valued that much for small companies. So we have, as I said, our mission to fill these gaps and create value for society and the environment, among others. We have managed over the last few years to support over 300,000 employment positions, to give more than 40,000 new loans, to create about 20,000 employment positions, and to disburse more than 8.5 billion of loans. Of course, this has an impact on GDP, direct and indirect impact, that we're quite proud of, especially at this challenging period for both Greece and globally. Metron Analysis, which is a Greek research group, has found that we have more than 80% satisfaction from customers. And just to briefly say, as far as our types of products that we offer, we do grants, we do guarantees, we do effectively loans that we co-produce with the private sector banks. So for example, we might be 40% of a loan by Alpha Bank, and you may not even have heard of us. Of course, we seek to create a brand for ourselves, but so far, I think we remain quite unknown, even domestically. And of course, we do co-financing and co-investments. This leads to the reduction of interest rates in the Greek market, the lower guarantees from the private sector, and of course, employment and social benefits, among others. I don't want to go into great detail about our products, but as far as the audience is concerned, the most relevant, I think, set of loans that we have already, the most relevant is probably the TEPIH. It's called TEPIH, and it's Greek entrepreneurship loans that go from 25,000 upwards to 1.5 million. It's not such a big amount, 1.5 million, but at the same time, it's a very quick process to get the loan, and it's the cheapest loan that you can get in the Greek market, because we offer our 40% interest free. So immediately that's a 40% reduction of the interest rate at a difficult period, as you know. And at the same time, we are launching 3 larger funds, which go hand in hand with our initiatives as a strategy to support green growth, the digitalization of the Greek economy, to provide liquidity, and the greater absorption of the Greek development funds. So I don't want to go, as I said, into great detail, and of course you're welcome to reach me or Maria at any time and give you specific advice if you need some financing. But basically, our loans that we're launching are going to be supporting interest rate of up to 3% from our, let's say, from our expense for up to 2 years. And they will cover the various needs in the Greek market, as far as I said, digitalization or financing for liquidity purposes in an environment where interest rates are higher. We also have and these loans, by the way, are going to be in excess of 2 billion euros. And they come partly from EU funding as well as Greek state funds. And we have an innovation product as well, which we launched last year. And if you meet certain requirements, you will get up to 15% subsidy on your capital based on ESG criteria for about 5% and 15% for seeking innovative, disruptive businesses to develop.
ESG criteria include also women participation. So this is an important financial tool for our discussion today. Thank you very much, Darius.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So let's start with Luis. Luis, which are the main obstacles that women entrepreneurs face globally? And this is a question that I would like that all of you ask, Luis and Kinga from the global side, and then Eri and Eirini from the local Greek side.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me here today. It's a great pleasure to be a part of this panel, and it's a great topic, and I think it deserves a lot of attention. Also, as a father of 2 daughters and a son, I want all three to have the same opportunities in business and everywhere in life. So very relevant topic, and happy to add as much as I can to it. So we invest primarily in the US, Canada, and Western Europe. Although I'm based in Barcelona, a lot of our investment is conducted in North America. That said, we have invested also in Bulgaria and Israel, Turkey, France, Mexico, and a bunch of other places. And to tell the truth, we have never been purposely focused on gender investing. So for us, it doesn't really matter who is leading a particular company, who is the entrepreneur. Could be a female, male, doesn't matter to us. Same with ethnicity, same with a lot of other elements around the background. But it is true that we're seeing constantly that the main obstacle that female entrepreneurs face, and they're not the only ones, again, there's other groups that face a very similar issue, is access to capital. It's always been very challenging. And I do not understand exactly why that happens. It just happens. There's a gender bias there on the investment side or the investor side. It is also true that it gets worse as companies get bigger and later stage. So for example, we have backed, as far as I can recall, about 8 or 10 female entrepreneurs, either CEO or leadership team in the founding team. That represents just under 20% of our portfolio, of all the investments we've made so far. All of these have been always in the early stages. So we do have a fund that's investing in later stages, and then we have 3 other funds, one of which is still active, that's investing in early stage. For early stage, it is easier or more common to see female entrepreneurs raising their first $1 million or $2 million. That's where we come in with our early stage. For the growth fund, it's clearly an exception. And in fact, we have not made a single investment in a team, including female, that's in growth stage. And so I think that tells me that for some reason, as companies get funded and get bigger, some investors have the bias that perhaps because in the growth stage, they see all male teams, female are not qualified or cannot build the business big enough. So why backing them to start with? Why backing them in the first place in the early stages when you know that almost for sure they might be gone by the time the company raises a Series C or a Series D or goes public? And so that is something that needs to change. So I think the greatest obstacle is access to capital. And without that access, it's just not possible to grow businesses rapidly and in a big way. It's just extremely challenging to accomplish that. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg problem, but it does start with investors perhaps being more willing to remove some of this gender bias and back teams regardless of the gender.
So access to capital and gender bias. Thank you, Luis. And Kinga, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I think, there's a couple of different types of entrepreneurs, first of all. And let's remember that only a minority of entrepreneurs raise venture money. So the majority of the world is funded in a regular way. They bootstrap, they generate revenue, they go to banks, they go to leasing companies, and so on. And there, I don't see such a big financing gap for female entrepreneurs versus male entrepreneurs. If they're doing the sort of, bootstrapping, the right thing, they're making the right business plan and slowly growing, maybe 20% a year, maybe sometimes 30% a year. That's great growth and can be super solid businesses, which is actually the way the majority of the world works. And then what we have is a minority situation, which is venture funded. So I think there's a statistic that it's 1 in 20 startups that is venture funded or something. It's actually a very small percentage. And then on that space, if we look at that, then women do not have an advantage. For the last 10 years, every single year, between 1 and 2% of female-led startups get funded. So basically, if we take 100%, about 88 goes to male-only founding teams. Then the next round, sort of 10 goes to mixed teams, and the small leftover, which is every year between 1 and 2%, goes to a female CEO. And that's a huge, huge gap. And unfortunately, it doesn't really matter in Europe whether the pie grows. So in 2021, we had a record year, 100 billion was invested in European startups. Still, women got around the same percent. So it did not matter that more was invested. And then as the numbers went down, women are still in this range of 1 to 2%. So as the pie grows, it doesn't get better. As the pie gets smaller, it can get worse. But by and large, we are in that gap. We believe at European Women in VC, which is a report we published last year, that the main cause of lack of venture funding for female-led startups is the lack of women investors. Women investors have only 9% of assets under management in Europe in the venture space. And 9% is really not that much. And then when you think about this 9%, the women tend to be in the smaller funds, not the larger ones, and therefore they have an inability to do follow-ons into certain projects. So we are in a situation where right at the top of the decision-making of asset allocation, assets are not allocated to female-led funds. And we know that women are more likely, I believe it's 3 times more likely to invest in other women. Therefore, we do not have this additional effect. And therefore, we end up with what we end up with. I'm going to maybe very quickly paste inside the chat box the report of European Women in VC, which obviously includes Greece as well. It covers the EU 27 and the UK. And this is something we published last year. It's a very extensive piece of analytics, and I do welcome everyone to have a look at it. But yes, I mean, what we believe as a direct problem is the fact that women are not managing capital.
Thank you, Kinga, and thank you also for sharing the report. I also wanted to mention that because I've read the report and indeed it has important figures. And if any woman wants to do business, I think it's important that she knows how the landscape is, so that she can also find the right way of fitting into this landscape and doing her own business. So Eirini, from the Greek side now, so which do you think are the main obstacles that women entrepreneurs face in Greece?
Yes, Thank you so much. According to surveys, the following obstacles are the same in European level, national level, even in local level in Crete. And these are the same obstacles we have already seen through our activities with our community. So it's number one, family responsibilities. So it's always the role we're supposed to have, either a caregiver or a mother, that often is like an obstacle to follow an entrepreneurship career. Then comes the lack of confidence, and then the absence of support of the environment. And this is where we come, or other incubators or organizations are coming. Of course, in the root of all this, we are finding stereotypes of society and restricted beliefs that we have already adopted in order that we believe or we think that we have a certain capacity. For us, the solution is to empower a woman, but empowerment is like the chicken with the egg. It's like, first you need to have the knowledge in order to be empowered. First you need to be empowered in order to have the knowledge. It's both ways, I would say.
Thank you, Eirini. Thank you very much. It's important to see also the social dimension indeed. And Eirini, what about you? What do you think are the main obstacles?
Firstly, I would like to thank you for the invitation for today and welcome you all again. I have taken a more generic and holistic view in replying to this question. In this constant changing world, the business demands are increasing every day, and even more if you are a woman representing multiple roles in the society as an entrepreneur, a wife, and a working mother. For women, nothing is taken for granted. Women in entrepreneurship face several obstacles and prejudice. Women systematically underestimate their own abilities. They attribute their success to external factors, whereas men attribute it to themselves. We do not negotiate for ourselves in the workforce, and we fall behind. And there aren't nearly enough women to share their voice with the rest of us, especially in Greece, where the culture is more traditional. Finding female mentors, being able to interact and exchange opinions in a one-to-one basis is something that ICC is looking into, but we will discuss later on. To reach the pinnacle of your career, it is hard and it's a constant learning process while trying to stay in the game. In my opinion, the core difficulty that women face is the age demographic, where they have to take a life-changing decision between the age from 30 to 40, whether they want to create a family and by 40 to have a child. Everyone knows that this age range is the most demanding period of anyone's career. It's your creative years. Even though they say that when you can always come back, it's extremely difficult because once you step out, you're outdated. Your peers are further in their career and you lose credibility because you have removed yourself from the constant learning curve, as I mentioned earlier. As a result, that gives the priority to men to get promoted and climb the professional ladder easier and earlier than us. Women must keep in mind, as Sheryl Sandberg had mentioned, that do not leave before you leave. Do not make a decision too far in advance, particularly the ones that you are not consciously taking. Do not miss opportunities that may appear to you now because you have the thought of having a kid and you need the space for that to happen later. Just stay in the game, and because you don't get the opportunity there, you might not get the next one, as unconsciously you have removed yourself. Here comes the most difficult part, from when we must find a balance between family and professional life. I'm sure both genders fall behind in balancing these factors. Nevertheless, the stereotype in nature is for the woman to be the one to sacrifice. Personally, as we speak, I'm facing this challenge as I'm expecting my second child. How will I be able to maintain my career and raise 2 children? Somehow, with the first one, I didn't see that challenge. I found a rhythm, not a balance, but it was something. I would be a liar if I did not say that becoming a mother is as important as having a career, even more important in the sense that you have to raise good people that will be able to enter society and not burden it. Those people are our future, and if we do not invest in them, who will? Society must create an environment that will provide the support to women to be able to be good mothers at the same time follow their career. Because if a woman is fulfilled in her personal life, and has achieved her personal career goals, she will also be a happier individual, a happier mother, because she will be able to provide to her family. She won't be marginalized and left out at the sidelines. And it's okay to fail. It happens. Everyone has experienced failure. It's where society comes in to pick you up and tells you, give it another try. Thus, it is quintessential to have the support of your partner and your family. It's common to see successful women to have supportive husbands, mothers, or even mothers-in-laws, if I may add. It's vital to make your partner a real partner. It's optimistic that those stereotypes of women doing all the sacrifice has shifted to the opposite direction, and men, fathers, have become more and more open-minded, and they're there willing to help their wives. I'm lucky enough to have a husband that fully supports me, and I consider him exemplary, as he's one of the few who owns a company that almost 65% are female employees in Greece. So it is getting clear nowadays that all stereotypes and the different obstacles must be overcome, as we deserve equal opportunities and treatment, with no exceptions and no discrimination. Lately, women flourish in entrepreneurship as they thrive in multitasking. According to the Hellenic Statistic Authority, 33% of women are holders of higher education degrees, while 29% are men. In Greece, in 2017, the unemployment rate for women was 26%, while for men it was only 17%. Last but not least, it is very saddening that in our country, the leadership in business refers to the very low rate of 30%, whereas in men, it's 70%. Nonetheless, if you may ask a woman that are pioneers in the field, they will often acknowledge that being a single woman or a small minority is both hard, but an opportunity too. History of tough, resilient women that came before and demanded and fought for fair treatment at home, at work, at society at large, created a movement which now collectively shows how far we have come. In believing in ourselves, not being undermined by failure, listening to our inner drive, and not allowing fear to overcome, to be brave. The price of inaction is much greater than making a mistake, and most importantly, to be the one to build your own strategy. That's my holistic idea. And sorry if I took a long time.
That was empowering, actually. That was empowering, because we need also that side. Thank you, Eirini. So I'm gonna go back now to Luis. Okay, we talked about bias in funding women. Luis, do you think, or what actually would you believe probably about why are women perceived differently? Because from what you said also before, there is a different perception of women in business. What do you think? I know the why is very difficult to reply, but probably it could give us a flavor, which would become a hint again for our lovely audience that is today with us and wants to do business.
Yeah, good question. So I'm not sure I have the answer for that. I'll tell you what I feel like on the investment side of things, what we're seeing. And again, I went through the report, very interesting data. I think it was mostly European data, so it doesn't cover all of the geographies where we invest. Like I said, we've invested about 20% of the companies are led in one way or another by female founders, entrepreneurs. I think the statistics for Europe is like 15% of venture-backed companies are essentially led by women. So we're a bit ahead of that statistic. I think that's also a representation of other geographies in which maybe you see more female presence, like the US or Canada. But again, we're replicating pretty much what we're seeing in the market. What I can say is we have invested in more female over the last few years than in the previous years. So our first investment in a female founder was in 2013 in the US. Then we made another one in 2015 in Spain. And then after that, almost every year we've invested at least in one or even sometimes two women ever since. So like 20, 21, 22, etc. So this is showing that the community of female entrepreneurs is growing. It's still far from where it should be, but it is growing, which is a really good sign. Now, I think that coming to bias, I believe that the perception is many times, because this is the investment side of things is many times just full of men again. And so you do see women mostly in, I'd say, family office type of decision-making positions, not so much at institutional level, and not so much clearly at high net worth individuals, even though there may be maybe more female high net worth than male. But the truth is they're probably less active. That said, the perception that I feel is in the market is, so women entrepreneurs are perhaps less inclined to take risks. They're more conservative. And because as a VC or an investor, you want businesses to push as hard as you can, and you want them to either succeed or fail quickly. That is a little bit of a cross statement, but it is as it is. You want those companies to go fast and grow big. Of course, you make mistakes. And of course, to do that, you have to take risks. And sometimes I think the investment community sees female entrepreneurs as less risk takers than male. And therefore, if you have to bet on someone, you would bet on someone who's willing to take more risks. It is not about the capabilities at all. It is not about the skills or the commitment or the willingness to succeed. That is completely equal, if not more. And like you said, I mean, higher education, you see more women than men. If we're looking at the grades, I'm sure it's clearly better for women than men. So it has nothing to do with skills or capabilities. It is more about all these other more qualitative aspects. And risk-taking is, I think, one of the key ones. At least it is what I see in the market, even sometimes what we discussed at investment committees. Is this person aggressive enough, or is it just a risk-taker versus...
Do you think this fear of risk, okay, I shouldn't do a follow-up question because we're running out of time, but I really want to ask this shortly. Do you think the fear of risk has to do also with the social stereotypes, and this combines also with what Eirini said earlier?
Yeah, it does have to do with social stereotypes, for sure. Yes. So, and that's, I wouldn't say it's super hard to fix. It just takes time. Yes. So it is fixable. It will be. It is actually being addressed, and I think it's on the table as one of the main topics. So it can be fixed, but it takes maybe a generation or two to accomplish all of those goals to their fullest extent.
Yes. Thank you, Luis. I'm coming now to Kinga. Kinga, what are now the trends in investing in women entrepreneurship, and also how do you support via the European Women VC platform women entrepreneurship? And I mean, is there any change in the perception or in the actual investments? How is it changing now?
Well, when I started with European Women in VC, this was 5 years ago. It was because I was a fund manager with another lady, and we couldn't really find that many female-led VCs. So we wanted to somehow meet our peers from different countries, and that was quite difficult for us. It was not an easy way to find connections. And so we decided that the best way is to put everybody in one room, let them meet with each other, and hopefully they will be able to learn of each other, share pipeline, share deals, and just help out. And what turned out is that there are quite a few women across different parts of Europe. There are at least 2 in Greece that we have worked with, and but they are dispersed. And it is not easy for them to raise money and grow their funds. And because this is European Women in VC, what we found was that there is a lot of people focusing on female entrepreneurs, so the female that are doing the startups, but nobody is really thinking that this is quite easily fixable. Women entrepreneurs, if they had more money, they would also play around with it like men do. They would run their startups, pivot, test things, fail, try again, and so on. They are not given that chance. The reason they're not given that chance is because they are perceived that they are not risk takers, that they are more conservative. But are they? We don't know that. We can't actually verify it simply because they're not given those chances. And these statistics in Europe show for themselves. Now, what we find is that the problem is quite easily fixable by asset allocators, by those at the top. So the biggest asset allocator in Europe is obviously the EIF. So many national fund of funds that are investing in VCs, and many private held asset managers, pension funds, high net worth individuals, and family offices. If they start investing in a diverse way, we will also fix the problem at the bottom. However, today, it's not happening. Today, unfortunately, the asset allocators at the top don't have KPIs to meet. They are not investing on par 50-50 into women-led funds and male-led funds. That's not the case. And therefore, we cannot expect a different result at the bottom because it's a cascading effect. And therefore, what we want to concentrate on is explaining to policymakers that anything that is taxpayer funded, which is about half of European VC, should allow for open and fair and equal access to capital because it is taxpayer funded and women are 50% of taxpayers. And on the private asset management side, what we found with every single study, and it doesn't matter in which geography, is diverse teams outperform. Diverse teams have better results, quicker exit, generate more revenue and more net profit. That is in every single study out there. So if you are an asset allocator, where should you be investing to improve returns for your shareholders? Well, you should be investing in diverse teams. It's an obvious decision because that is what results globally say. So putting those two parts together should logically mean that more money flows should be spread out more evenly and allow for the dispersion of those money flows right down as a cascading effect. So we find that this is very, very important. It should be a priority. And we try to concentrate on that, trying to help those women who want to be fund managers or who are on their fund too, to access as many LPs as possible so that we can show to those LPs how great these women are at fund management, how great results they're delivering, and motivate them in a positive way to try and just bring more capital to those asset managers. And we think that that is the solution. We, of course, do think that many corporates like Microsoft and Google and many others institutions are doing a lot of work at the bottom, creating accelerator programs, creating mentoring programs. All these things, all these initiatives are really, really great. It's just that we need a sandwich. We need the top and the bottom to meet. And the top needs to move faster. So that for me, is something that I dream about. Like Luis, I have 2 daughters, and I would very much like them to not have these issues in the next years as they come into the world of work and hopefully maybe build their own startups or their own VC funds. I hope that the market will be fair and open to them as they are, but we do have a lot of work to do. And I think it does start at decision making right at the very top of the money flows.
And important what you said, it's the bottom-up effect, but also the top-down effect. It has to go together.
Yes.
Sterios wants to say something. Thank you very much, Kinga. Sterio, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. If you can hear me as well.
Yes.
You can? Great. Okay. Well, listening to Kinga's remarks and having a first degree in sociology, I might just say that from the position of running, let's say, the front office of Hellenic's bank here, I don't see any difference between the productivity of men and women as such. What I understand happens is the same way that there is a failure in the economy in certain segments and sectors So is with, I would say, with women's lost productivity, in the sense that as an economics theory says that a lot of the value that is created doesn't get recorded properly. Let's say cleaning doesn't create value as such to the GDP, for example, but it is something very valuable, and people spend time with it. In all, I'd say the fact that women have been recognized to have a bigger role in child rearing. For example, in Greece, at least, if you get a divorce, the child goes with the mother rather than with the father still. Okay, so on the one hand, we recognize that a woman is more suitable to raise children, at least in the first years of one's life. And the role of the mother is more important than the father as such. It is, somehow institutionalized and recognized, but at the same time, this value is not registered in the employment, into the entrepreneurship area. But this is, I wouldn't say necessarily a bad thing. It is effectively still a choice of every woman to do so. It is not forced on a woman. But and as such, I would just like to conclude that I think most of the dilemmas of, let's say, the obstacles to female entrepreneurship have been now removed, as far as, let's say, forced upon women as options. Of course, there is obviously some bias, but I think it doesn't really come across in most of the organizations I see in Greece at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergius. So let's run a bit quickly, because I know that my colleagues from the innovation department will kill me. So, Eri, you are a startupper yourself. So which are the risks for women startuppers in Greece? And also, can you tell us a bit on the base of your experience as a startup and as a director of Women Do Business? And what do you see as difficulties in access to funding for women in Greece?
Okay, nice question. How is to be a woman startupper in Greece? Okay, of course we face some obstacles, like we mentioned above, and the solution, yes, is empowered. But from the one hand, most of times it can be like really bad, like since IT or tech or STEM science are considered to be a man's privilege. From the other hand, is like good, because we have all these EU policies, we have SDGs, we have Me Too movement. So almost everyone wants or needs a successful female entrepreneur. There are even a special funding program for us. But the issue still remains, and the statistics are talking by themselves. It's like the gender gap. If we have a startupper, a woman startupper and a man startupper, and they are pitching to a VC or a funding, who is going to win the fund? Most of the times, because of the bias, as Louis said, is men. So, and I'm happy that I'm hearing someone from men's perspective to accept this, because every time I'm speaking of this in speeches, usually VCs or investors, especially in Greece, have a defensive, like, it's not our fault. It's not always VC's fault or bias fault or someone's fault. Sometimes even for us, we don't even apply, because women, we want, because of the social pressure and everything of stereotypes, we want to feel like 100% ready in order to do the next step. When men wants to, they feel like 65% ready in order to do the next step. I remember, I will share a short story. I will remember myself some months ago, I was pitching to a competition, and we were 10 startups from all over Greece. And the first one was man, the second one was man, the third was man. And I was the only woman pitching it. And I was like, it was really sad, that was really sad. The other day I was talking to an angel investor, and we had the discussion, but why to talk about women's empowerment? Or it's not so different. Entrepreneurship, yes, is the same, but it's different. We have different obstacles.
Thank you, Eri. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very useful what you said, especially also for the Greek landscape. So Eirini, you as Vice President in the International Chamber of Commerce, Women Hellas, how do you support female entrepreneurship in Greece? So how can our audience today listen to you and benefit also from you? And do you have any hint for our audience that wants to do business in Greece? I know that you also have experience yourself in doing business, so this would be very useful.
As far as a businesswoman and the Vice President of ICC Women, I will speak a bit shortly about the ICC, which already counts numerous achievements with active network in 90 countries worldwide. It motivates by its success. Greek women got inspired in creating the ICC Women Hellas, a branch dedicated to boost and the establishment of women in the professional life of our country in order to gain equal opportunities and recognition, facing international challenges into the evolving economy through the eyes of a woman. Our members are successful women professionals that build their careers in different industries as shipping, tourism, culture, education, and many more. They participate in every attempt that aims to the positive reinforcement of women entrepreneurship. They get inspired and they keep increasing and growing. We're very happy and proud counting more and more participants each time. And we invite all women to take action and share with us their passion and knowledge so that we all together make a progress. Following the steps of Greece, it's quite emotional and hopeful that ICC Women Cyprus was invented. And we strongly believe that this professional women network will expand widely. For a better function of our open network, we got organized into various working classes so that all members can offer their expertise and experience gained through their careers and exchange their knowledge and their ideas into this diversified team. Moreover, through events, webinars, meetings, and many other activities that ICC Women Hellas does, we manage to strengthen our network continuously, and we're here to provide mentoring and guidance to any woman seeking assistance to the next career path. In my point of view, I believe that women professionals have gained an exceptional position in the current world of economy, as I'm sure that there are more and more things to come. Personally, I'm coming from from the shipping industry, a completely male-dominated community that slowly makes moves closer to the desirable equality. And whenever I get the opportunity, I advocate for that purpose. It's worth mentioning that in my recent trip in Manila, I was happy to observe that many women seafarers were more this time than previous years. And I am sure to offer equal opportunities to male and female employees here in our company. It is essential that more and more women are integrating into shipping, not only into the offices, but on board, showing their skills and expertise. Of course, that applies to all the industries, and that's the underlying reason of our structure in the ICC Women in that manner. I wish that that will be this from now on, and this is the starting point of a new era that will bring all women to the forefront of professional stage, both locally and globally, and promote women's entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Eirini. Thank you very much. I think we need to wrap up. I will do a short question to each one of you. And I would really appreciate it if I can have a short reply from your side. So the next day, how do you see the next day in women entrepreneurship? Opportunities, challenges in the future? Or any advice? It's a question that, aims to give a bit more motivation to women to do business, but also to know the reality. So Kinga, do you want to start?
Okay, sure. What we found was with our work that women often set up companies that have a positive benefit to society. And so if we want to have a society that has good education for our kids, we need to invest in technologies, edutech. If we want to have a society that has clean air, we need and green energy, we need to invest in that. If we want to have our parents taken care of, we need to invest in healthcare solutions for the elderly. And if we want to be healthy in general, we have to think about medical devices and so on. And women tend to be founders of companies in all those fields. I don't really see, women funding companies that don't benefit society. That would be super rare. So the recent times where we have seen crazy valuations for 15-minute food delivery that doesn't really add any value to society are hopefully over. And we're entering the era of truly aligning money with impact, with needs of society, with SDGs, and with all the positive things that actually women are absolutely awesome at doing. And so I see the future very positively. And I think that there will be plenty of female researchers, scientists, entrepreneurs, and just women who want to make a positive impact. They will be backed by the next set of venture capital firms. And I'm very happy about Louis's statistics as well. Congratulations on that. And let's hope that all the funds will be able out there to to deliver something similar. I think that's absolutely awesome.
Thank you, Kinga. Eirini, what about you? I think also you raised your hand, if not mistaken.
Yes, I just wanted to say about the access to finance that I believe that in Greece we have a lot of funding tools like microloans, VCs, angel investors like ICC has for women, women to women. Hellenic Development Bank has a great program in collaboration with systemic banks. Kinga just shared us about VC for women. Louis has a perspective that can support us. So we have the opportunities. The only thing is, if we have the confidence to take advantage of these opportunities. And I would say some advices for the next day: just find the right partners that they are supportive, ask for mentoring, take part in incubators or accelerators. They're really, really helpful, and then can grow our business really fast. Also, the network is incredible, and be part of a supportive community. This is for me like the milestones. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eirini. Eirini?
I want to combine both of them. I find the significant changes in equality, which is based in governmental and privately done in female entrepreneurship. I've seen many funds created to support for female entrepreneurship, and I truly believe that big things are coming for and from women. And I leave on a happy note: stand on your feet, believe in yourself, and be brave. That will be my ending sentence to conclude.
Thank you. Louis, what about you? We left the man at the very end.
yeah, no, it's fine. It's okay. The only thing is I have a hard stop in about like a minute or two. That's the only thing. But yeah, I'll be very brief. I'll say, so in our business, in the venture capital business, it's really about relationships. This is a relationship business. It's not a transactional business, even though it starts with a transaction. But that's kind of a byproduct of the whole process. It's not even like the main aspect of the process. It's just what needs to happen to get started, and it's a relationship-driven process. I think that women are at an advantage in that particular scenario because, just generally speaking, I think that men are more seen as transaction-driven and women are more relationship-driven. I think that there's no reason why women shouldn't play a much more active role in the venture capital community, both on the investment side as well as the entrepreneurship side. And I think that it's important that it's looking forward as next steps. I think that all of us, but probably starting with female, has to be very clear, emphasizing the complementarity of being relationship driven in a business that's all about relationships. And so in talking to investors, I think that a better way to access capital, and this is easy to say and not so hard to do, harder to do, it's just emphasize that you're with the right type of mentality or thought process by being relationship driven. And so I think that has to be a central role of what happens between female entrepreneur and VCs and female VCs and entrepreneurs, the other way around as well.
Thank you, Louis. Indeed, and thank you very much for your contribution. Olina from the Innovation Department wanted to say something because lately we also took further initiatives in supporting the extroversion of Greek women entrepreneurs. Olina, do you want to tell us about it for a minute?
Sure. Thank you, Maria. Super briefly. First of all, I want to thank all the speakers because it was very informative, and thank you all for being here. I just wanted to say that together with all the programs that we have at HTB, we try to take different initiatives to support women entrepreneurship, and one of that was that we collaborated with BPI France, which is the French promotional bank, and together with the Invest EU portal, and we found for them some women founders that they are involved in climate tech and in health tech, and they're based in Greece, they're Greek, and they're going to have some like a unique opportunity to meet some international investors, and they're going to have two meetings with them, and it's going to have some coaching and expert advice, and they're going to, like, in general, improve their investment readiness level. So we're also looking for other ways to support women entrepreneurship at HTB. That was the only thing that I wanted to share with you.
Thank you, Lina. Are there any questions? Okay, I think no. Okay, I think it was really, as you said, Olina, a very informative webinar, and a very complimentary, actually, webinar. So if there is anything else that you need, I'm speaking now to the audience, that you need from us, any information about HTB or any contacts with our panelists, we're more than welcome. Thank you very much, Eirini, Eri, and Luis and Kinga had to leave. They're also in different time zones. So thank you all. And hope to see you soon in another session about women active in entrepreneurship, and not only.
Happily.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.